Hello and welcome to the Catholic League Preseason Roundtable. We're doing things a little bit different. Coach Porcelano actually had this idea a couple weeks ago, so I wanted to get everybody together, talk about the season coming up. Obviously, an unprecedented season in 2020 and what happened. So we're full steam ahead now for the 2021 season. Just to do a quick introduction, we have Paul Porcelano, St. Anthony's, Casey McKay, St. John the Baptist, Dan Luisi, Holy Trinity. We have both coaches from Kellenberg and both coaches from Chaminade. We're just missing Matt Prokopovich from St. Dominic's. We're going to phone him in. So let's start off with the reigning champs. Mike Pianco's coach. Does it feel weird? 2 years now, you are the reigning champs.
I know it does. It seems like a long time ago. But, I often, and I said to Paul, what a great job he did in his first year at the helm. And I think all 5 of the games we played were great games.
They were awesome games.
But the finals were terrific.
Yeah,
that was
the finals were great, and your best players stood out. Your best players played great. They played like the best players in the league.
They did. They shined in that series.
And I wanted to mention Logan quick. Logan Kosa, the Catholic League Player of the Year that year. When did you know that you had a special group, specifically that rotation? Because I think that's really what carried you guys to the playoffs.
Yeah, we were pretty deep on the hill. And I knew it when Logan was a sophomore. We brought Logan up. Unfortunately, again against St. Anthony's, he broke his arm as a sophomore, and that really hurt us his sophomore year. But as a junior and a senior, that whole class, his senior class was terrific. We had depth all around. We had a good infield, our outfield, we had great catching, and we were deep on the hill. So that's what it takes to win in our league.
It does.
Yeah. But now the downside of that was that you basically were going to have a very young team last year. So I would never say that anyone benefited from a canceled season. But it seemed like last year was going to be at least a transitional year for you. Would that be accurate?
I think that way every year, honestly, because unlike a lot of coaches, Jack and I don't coach in the summer. So we don't see our kids a lot. I mean, we go to games and stuff, but we don't see our kids a lot. So every year is a new year. And every year we're trying kids out. I think last year we had 65 kids try out for varsity baseball. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So, I'm frightened this year because I have a week to try our kids out before we play St. Anthony's.
Yep.
So, but every year is a transition. And honestly, if we had played last year, I felt good about our team. I liked the junior class coming in. And I particularly liked a couple of who would have been sophomores, specifically Areola, a lefty pitcher who unfortunately I've already lost for this year. He's having Tommy John surgery. We just found that out yesterday.
Yeah.
So every year is a transition for us. And, I think this year it's going to be the same thing this year. I mean, I really don't know any of these kids, really. I've seen them play a little bit, but if losing last season, what do I know about them? I don't know much at all about them.
Yeah, Pars, I was going to ask you because we had mentioned it, on our other podcasts before, but basically the seniors that you have now, you haven't coached most of them, right?
Nope, they were JV kids. So we're back to square one because we don't know what the skill sets are, and they're 2 years older. So just like Mike said, we're going in blind, and no matter how much we work out indoors or whatever you say, until we get them on the field and we match them up and see where they stack up against each other, it's touch and feel. I'll go back to what Casey told me when we first played, or maybe it was before the season started. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. I think all of us, every team in here is competitive. The coaches all get it. I think the beginning of that season is going to be a feel it out. I think we're going to beat each other up. We're going to split every Saturday, and when the playoffs roll around, that's when we're all going to start to figure out what we are. Yep. So it should be interesting. I think the playoffs are going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And Casey, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was your core group of players, the 2022 class. I mean, just looking at it from the forest and not the trees, it's pretty impressive. You have 3 kids that are Division I commits. I know that's only on paper, of course, but they definitely seem to be impact guys. So how excited are you to finally get on the field after hearing about these kids for a couple of years now?
Listen, kids like that make my job easy. You just kind of write their name in the lineup and let them go do their thing. But we're really excited for that class that we have. We probably have, besides the 3 kids who are committed now, we probably have, probably one of maybe another Division I kid and a couple Division II guys. So, I'm super excited to get a chance to really finally coach these guys, because besides Kyle, Chase, and Aiden Ford, I had them as freshmen. But, I think that development year last year where I would have some of those guys as sophomores on the varsity level, I know they played, great summer ball, but until you play in this league, it's very different.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get a chance to coach them and then kind of watch those guys shine. So we're really excited for this year.
I just want to talk about Kyle quick because he's a kid that he's been kind of a household name, at least in our little community, for 4 years now, I would say. When you guys won, or Body Armor won the 12U championship, and he hit 12 home runs. So even though it's not always, doesn't always transition that easy, sometimes you just watch a kid and it's a no-brainer. Like when you saw him for the first time, did you say this is a potential, impact guy? Even back then?
I actually remember. So I got a chance to coach him on Body Armor 13, the year after they won. So Brian Anderson was the head coach. I was the assistant. So I actually remember we were playing in a tournament in Lodi, New Jersey. It was like 104 degrees. There was, concrete everywhere. I remember being coaching first base. I'm going to pass out. It was that hot. He threw about 85 pitches and just battled. And it was, I said right then and there, I was like, this kid's going to be something special. And I was just lucky enough that, he winded up coming to St. John Baptist. But even more impressive than anything he does on the field is his maturity. So he's became a leader, and he's grown up a lot in terms of some of his off-the-field stuff that he's done that I've been most impressed with. He's taking care of the younger kids. He's doing a really good job being a captain in a leadership role on the field and off the field as well. So that was the biggest thing, that I thought from his change. Because listen, he's a great player, and I think he's going to be a great player for a long time. But I was really more impressed with his maturity and how he grew off the field as a leader for us.
Mm-hmm. And now your core group of guys, really you can extend it to the 2021s, because there's like a group of 9 or 10 guys that are going to wind up playing in college. And it almost reminds me of Holy Trinity back about 8-9 years ago when Alex Robinson was his group, 2011,
that was a special
2012.
group.
Yeah.
Run by Hondo. But I'm sure some of you guys remember. What stood out about going back 8-9 years now? That's kind of reminiscent, in my opinion, that group.
Yeah, listen, it's just specifically speaking about that group. I wasn't there at the time. That was Melandro's golden years. He had many of them. But that group was super talented in all facets of the game. So they had legit arms on the mound. There were. You're built from the middle of the field, behind the plate. They were great. They had two outstanding middle infielders. Harder was behind the plate. Parenti and DeVito were the two middle guys. Pat Madigan, who's a Division I guy, was in the outfield. They just had some really, really good players, and being able to watch as a fan or as an alum at that time, going to watch them at Farmingdale compete in the tournament was enjoyable. It was a lot of fun because that was 2012. For me, I graduated 2005, so that was 7-8 years removed. But they still played a certain type of baseball that I think Coach Melandro instilled in me when I was a player. So it was pretty cool to kind of see that same style of baseball with some really good players 7-8 years later. That was a special group.
You had that one player, excuse me.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
had that one player who was a football player.
That's Brew. That was
Oh,
my
Vinny.
college. That was my college teammate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that was
Vinny.
2010.
And I remember we were playing in a playoff game, and we had scored a couple of runs, and he come up, and he hits one out. Comes up another time. It's a grand slam out.
Yeah.
I turned to Mike, and I says, Mike, it's time to get the boat, put it in the water. because he was just,
He was-
Yeah, he was a great
just to
player.
underscore your point, you
Yep.
had some dynamic players.
Yep.
Kids that were hungry and good.
They were bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Tough,
bully team.
competitive. And listen, Anthony Brunetti is a kid that it's hard to compare. Listen, we've all had great players play for us and play in this league, and whether we're fans or coaches or players like we were. There are some really special guys. Anthony was a two-sport athlete, and just as good as he was on the baseball field, he was arguably even better on the football field.
Yeah,
So
and
it was
Hanson
crazy.
Award,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Thorpe Award, yeah.
Yep.
Thorpe
Yeah,
Award.
Thor. But
It's incredible when I look back over all the years, how many great baseball players went through our league. Great players. Kids that, not many of them actually got to the show, but a lot of them got to
Oh,
AAA,
yeah.
Double
Yep,
A.
and that's what
you
makes
know.
our league special. Listen,
Yep.
I remember like when I was a freshman, be looking around and maybe going to my older brother Nick's games and look out on the field and see like McCardle, Panino, Craig
Yep.
Binnick. Like these guys look like giants. You
Yeah.
know, when I was
Yeah.
14 years old, like looking out on
Yeah.
the field. Now there were some really special players, and even as someone who wanted to be good, just watching those guys play made you work harder.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like if you wanted to be at
Yep.
that level and have that type of impact, like you had to really work and
Oh my
earn your
God, yeah.
spots.
Yeah.
So it was special.
And it's
Yeah.
cool to see Logan Ohapi right on the
Yeah.
cusp, it seems
Yeah.
like. And, you know, I think he kind of fits into that category of a special player. But since he graduated, he's only seemed to have climbed further. And now, you know, for Joe Girardi to be talking about him on the MLB network, I mean, Pars and Casey, you guys are close to him,
Yeah.
closer to him than just about anybody. I mean, when did you see that he really took his game to the next level?
That's Casey is practice with him 5 days a week. His
I
whole
mean,
life, you know?
I knew he was going to be very special.
We didn't think this though. This
So
is insane.
we would have winter workouts in the morning, right? 6:30 in the morning. He would ask to meet me at 4:45. I would walk in, I would put a foam roller down, and I would fall asleep. And he would do his whatever drills he needed to do, and I would say, okay, wake me up when you're ready. And he'd tap me on the shoulder about 5:45, and he'd get his work in before anybody got there. Then, practice during the season, he would hit till the sun went down. And I mean, it's obviously, you know, really paying off. It's really special, I think, to watch him play. It's not so much for me. I think when we have guys that are so successful, the first thing that we always say is it's not like, oh, that's my St. John the Baptist kid.
Exactly.
What we'll say is that's a Catholic League guy. So like turning on a game on TV and watching Kappas at Pitt, and you go, that's a Catholic League guy.
Yep.
Or watching a kid like Stratton, okay, at Radford,
Yep.
Catholic League guy.
Yeah.
Stallone on the #1 team in the country, Catholic League guy. So I think that's something that's really cool about this league is we have a lot of these players going on to these next level, and we say, hey, that's a Catholic League guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
For sure.
a
Dan,
great
I didn't
point.
want to gloss over your current situation, but now that you're in your third or fourth year,
Yeah, how do we count the
Yeah,
COVID
right?
year? What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
but point being that these are now guys that you've seen them come up into the system when they were freshmen, right? So do you feel like now you fully instilled your program, your culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as coaches, we're always trying to, cater our team strategies to our roster, but there are a couple things that are always the same, and it's kind of the expectation level we have for our kids, the lessons we're trying to instill in our players, building them from the inside out, really just trying to build good kids, and then, let the lessons that you're trying to instill in them take over and help them develop as ball players. And that's when you turn to really good players. You talk about
Yes.
Logan, and I didn't see all the work that Logan put behind the scenes, but watching him play on the field, I was like, he's a leader. And it wasn't just about what he did. I honestly, playing like a kid like Logan, I wouldn't even know what he did on the box score. I would just see the way that he would control and command the game from behind the plate. And how other kids looked up to him. So
Yes.
you want to, that's what you want to instill in your players. You want to build that type of expectation level. Accountable, prideful, selfless type players. And we have a good group of that, of players that I think fit that mold. I think, when I got to Trinity, these seniors were kind of already here. I was able to be a part of their development for 4 years, or 3 years now, going into the fourth season, which is going to be great, and it's kind of going to be sad, obviously, to see them go, like we've all experienced. But I'm excited for them just to be able to play. They missed their junior year, so I'm looking forward to that.
For sure. Chris, I wanted to bring you into the conversation. You mentioned Chris Kappas, 2017 Graduate Player of the Year. I mean, for my money, he was the best player in the conference that year, and you can go back maybe 2 years. But when you have a group like that, like you had 16 and 17, did you feel the need to capitalize and get the title? You wanted to finish the job those years, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 2016, we didn't come in as like a favorite, but we had like a lot of good, like 4 players. Like Weishire was our catcher, Kappas came in, Andy Limbs came out of nowhere. But Chris Kappas was a special player. I mean, you talk about like Logan. Logan was a great kid. You saw when he caught, he was such a presence on the field. Same thing with Coaster. Like like every few years, there's a player in the league who you're like, wow, this kid like commands attention, and that was, you know, Chris was a special player. You know, those 2 years we had a lot of guys contribute, and they were great. They were two great teams, you know.
Mm-hmm. And now I know that you wanted to discuss something tonight, so I want to give you the opportunity to talk about that as well.
I started becoming. I was the head coach since 2003. I had the privilege of coaching Pat Miles in 2004, 2005. He actually pitched in the championship game, 2004, when we beat Coach over here. I'm going to be handing him the program going forward, and I couldn't be prouder. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, you help bring someone along, and you see them get to a level where you're like, I think you could do a better job than me, and I think Pat's going to do that going forward. I mean, we have a special situation this year. I've always coached wrestling and baseball, and this year they're in the same season, and all the coaches have pulled in different directions, and I thought this would be the perfect year to give Pat the opportunity to step up and take over the program, and I can't be more proud, and you guys are getting a great person to enter the league as a coach, and you guys all played with him or coached against him when he was a player. I can't say enough good things about Pat, and I'm gonna miss, like you guys, the camaraderie and coaching the kids, but I think this is what's best for Kellenberg baseball.
Mm-hmm. Well, Pat, welcome to the fraternity, and it also comes at a perfect time because the seniors now, you're actually more familiar than Chris. So, I mean, what can you tell us about the composition of the 2021 team?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Well, first of all, thank you, Chris. Chris has made an impact in the whole league, and I think I speak for everybody at the
You'll be
table
missed.
here.
You'll be missed.
That you know, the way that he's represented the league has been phenomenal, and we thank you for everything you've done for everybody, including myself. I mean, I hear you guys talk about the unfamiliarity with the kids that you have, and I come from a different angle because the last team that I coached with Chris for my first 8 years. I've been in the league for 13 years now. And I was Chris's assistant for 8 years. And then when we had switched over to JVA and B about 5 years ago, I had left Chris and I'd taken the JVA team. So the last team I had coached was basically these juniors and seniors.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of on the other side of where you guys are at. I know these kids. You know, I am familiar with them. I know what types of players they are. So
Kellenberg's
you know,
favorite this year.
well, let's go.
That's my first week.
I just say I know who they are. I know who they are. Yeah. I know who they are. But no, yeah. So it was, you know, it's nice to reunite with these seniors for sure, especially with the experience I've had with them. And actually, they're probably finding out right now. We haven't really talked about this yet, so this is probably the first time that they'll find out as far as this as well.
We have
Hey,
our last coach phoned in here on FaceTime, Coach Poker Poets.
Coach.
What's up,
Manny?
Broco?
The most talented.
that's right.
What's up, Matty?
What's up, Coach?
But we just wanted you to know that we didn't forget about you, and I'll just have to transcribe what you're saying and into the transcript after this. All right. Have a good night. All right. Well, sorry about that.
Good for Matty sliding in.
All right.
Cut off the All-American.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So before we sign off, I just wanted to talk about, well, actually, this was Casey's idea. You had mentioned an
Yes.
all-time Catholic League team. So let's use, I don't know, when do we start here? 2000 as a good start?
Coach,
Let's do
About
10.
82.
I got some 90s guys I can throw out.
man.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
got some 90s guys.
I was thinking about
2000s?
like that whole idea
Yeah.
about catches. Think about catches.
Remember that
That's
one
true.
stretch
That's
that stretch
right.
we had where with Braun,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
you had Mario, right?
Yeah.
And we had Lombardi.
Yeah.
It was all that same era. Those monsters.
Every
Catchers,
one
that's
of
true.
these teams has had a great catcher.
Yes.
Yes.
Or several great catchers
Yeah.
over
Yes.
the years. I mean, including obviously Logan. But,
Yeah.
But how about Jonathan Harris? Right? One of Buddy's guys.
Yeah.
Right? This goes back, what? Hardick from
Yeah,
St. Anthony.
that's right.
He was
That's right.
phenomenal.
Bobby
that
Hardwick. That was his
Hardwick.
name. Yes.
He
played
beat
at
us by
Lafayette.
himself
Yes.
in 1985.
Yep. Yep.
He beat-
Well, yeah, it's dinosaurs here, right? Bobby was awesome.
He won the
He
game.
did?
Backing up a play
Yeah.
and then throwing our guy out.
Ball
And
would've
he
gone
had
into
an
the
absolute
dugout.
cannon for an
He
arm.
was terrific.
I got something just came to mind because I think we can incorporate somebody that has connections here. What's the best single game performance in a Catholic League championship?
Oh, I have one. Diaz. That
2007.
was
I've got one.
I was talking
unbelievable.
about your
I
brother.
got
Go
one.
ahead.
Oh no, I don't. My brother Nick was an exceptional player, and he did some pretty special things. But if I had
Who
to
hit 3 home runs?
narrow down one, so Johnny.
For
Oh,
real.
Johnny
Calco,
Calco.
yeah.
John Calco.
Calco,
My
yeah.
goodness.
Johnny Calco had 3 home runs.
To the championship game, and I never forget this. I get to the parking lot. My friends are like, "Dude, why don't you walk?" I'm like, how's this guy gonna hit 3 home runs? He was like,
I think we ended up having. I think we scored. It was at Baptist actually.
St. John's, yeah.
So Nicky, my brother, hit a home run in the, early in the game or the first inning, and then Johnny hit one right after him. And then Johnny, I think, had a grand slam and a 3-run home run throughout the end of the game.
did, yeah.
I mean, it was amazing.
ridiculous.
So yeah, that was to me. That was probably
Hard to beat that.
the
Yeah.
most amazing performance. Listen, everybody trains. All these kids are trained to play at a high level when it's most needed.
Yeah.
So that was like an amazing performance at that moment.
The championship game with Diaz.
Oh.
Like, it was
Yeah.
both teams were trying almost like not to win. It was so tough. It was so like, come on, man, let's go, just score a run.
Yeah.
And
And the last play on the drop third strike.
I'll bring that one.
Oh, the drop third strike. I remember that.
Yeah, oh no, I
Oh,
remember
I'm
that.
sorry, Casey. I remember that.
through the first, our second baseman covered. It was great. We had just everybody just screaming and yelling. It was crazy.
Now, Casey, from your perspective, since you're in the other dugout, going into that game, you knew that they had a loaded pitching staff, but out of all the guys, were you least hoping to see him?
You know what the crazy thing was too, because I remember we played them in the pool, and I remember them not throwing Kappas or Diaz. I'm like, they're not throwing him. They're gonna throw Williams, and then he turns around and throws like a 3-hit shutout. I'm like, Jesus, like
He was good.
It's gotta be.
Good for like
Yes.
a 45-minute game.
Yep. I'm like, just so
Yeah, he
then.
was good. He was really good.
Yeah.
So we go into the game. I'm like, listen, if we're gonna win this game, we have to keep it close. So it's like, if this gets to 2 or 3 runs, we got no chance. So we're on like thin on pitching at that point because we had to come out of the losers bracket. So I think we had the first inning. Kappas gets a base hit, of course. So then actually it was bases loaded, 2 outs, and this is when Matt Archer was still there. He was a sophomore. This kid hits a line drive, makes a leaping catch. I'm like, all right, 1-0, got out of there, okay. Then it's like nip and tuck the whole game and just kind of back and forth. Then I remember one of our kids, it was Leo Clark, got up. Like, it was like top of the 4th or top of the 5th, hits a bomb. I'm like, their left fielder, I forget the kid's name, makes a full extension over the head diving catch. And I just turn around and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, all right, it's going to be tough after this.
I gotta remember because what happened the series before, we had a collision in the outfield.
Yes.
So those 2 kids were out for
So they make that catch. I turn around, I'm like, God, this is going to be tough. And then Jason just kind of took over. And at that point, it's like, when a kid's that talented, it's just, we almost kind of have to get like lucky in a situation. And he was just dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to tip your cap to him at that point. And that was probably the most impressive pitching performance that I saw in a championship game. Is he was lights out. Lights out.
And then the next year you won it. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want to forget about that. I mean, you guys, not often do you see that. Losing a championship, come back the next year with a chip on your shoulder and win it. And I remember you made a pitching decision early on, right? In
Yes.
that game? And
Yeah.
you went to your bullpen and
So-
side
So
on and
we were up 1-0 in the series. So I had one of my number 2, this is Brian Krolkowski that year, and I had him if we winded up not winning that game. So that's just kind of like Habes always taught me, was he would always throw his number 3 in a 3-game series first.
Yep.
If we won, great, we'll throw our number 2, and then at the back end we'll have our number 1. If you lose the first game, you throw it to number 1, and then you got your number 2 coming after that. So early on in the game, we throw our one of our relief pitchers that year is Mike Russo. He threw pretty well through 2-3 innings. So we have a kid named Will Lynch, most unassuming, quiet, maybe 125 pounds soaking wet, like if that. So as the year goes along, he starts throwing from 3/4, which turns into sidearm. So he's got arm trouble. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor basically tells him, like, listen, you can get surgery, or, he goes, that's pretty much it. He goes, I'm not playing in college baseball. He goes, whatever, I'm throwing, that's it. So we get to the championship game, and it's at the point where, like, he's like, if I warm up and go in the game, like, I'm never pitching again. So, like, throw me as much as you want. So I turn around to him, like, you ready to warm up? He's like, yeah, man, this is the last time I'm pitching. Let's go. So he goes in the bullpen. I'm like, you ready? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. And he just goes in maybe 70 miles an hour, just flicking curveballs. We're sitting there in the dugout like, he's getting guys out. He's striking guys out. And he just – but that's some of the things which is really cool is, especially with a wood bat, you got guys off balance. You pitch and throw strikes. You have a chance to win the game. And then, we winded up coming up with a big hit, and Matt Lavin came up with a huge triple. Yeah. And then that was kind of it after that. So
yeah, that was against St.
Yeah,
Dominic.
it was against St. Dom's.
Yes. It was really good that year. So a couple more things I want to talk about. Pars, you have graduated 2020 at Arkansas now.
Yep.
They're the number one team in the country.
Yep.
And I was fascinated to see, well, obviously if they would have had a season, how much depth you would have had last year. So you would have had Stallone in the pitching rotation. Is that something that you kind of think about as what your chances were last year?
The seniors, when we lost to Chaminade, which they were the better team, they earned that championship 100%, and we all aware of it. But the guys are ready to move to the next level. And we had so much pitching, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, it would have been interesting last year for sure. I mean, there's no slam.
Well, we had a league with the seniors. All of us.
It was awesome.
We had the
That was
seniors,
awesome.
and we all got to interact
Yes.
with all the seniors. Like was Shami, Kellenberg, and Doms were the West team, and we were the East team. It was Trinity,
Yeah, it
St.
was
John's, and us. So we got the seniors all involved. So I got to see some of the seniors from these guys. I didn't get to enjoy their seniors too much, the West guys, but the East guys at Ram and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It was actually one of the, I think,
It was
the
awesome.
best things
Yeah.
that we were able to
Yeah.
do.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and
Being
the
able
kids
to
still
meet those
talk about
guys,
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kids
it
still
was
talk
awesome,
about it.
But
But I thought last year's team was a championship caliber
Yes.
team. I think we were ready for it, and we were in with both feet. And then when the season was taken away, that's why this is so transitional. Like this year, now it's kind of being back to square one because I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I invested all that time with those guys. The season was taken away, and now we're back to square one, which is everybody else is kind of in the same boat.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. Except Kellenberg. So,
Yeah, except Kellenberg. Yeah, exactly.
Last question before we go, Coach Bianco. Since you have the most history here in the league, if you had to go one pitcher to win a championship game since 1982, who are you going with?
One pit from Chaminade or from
Anyone
anyone?
in the league that you see.
Man, oh man.
Oh, I hope you asked me
tell
this
you
question.
what.
I got one.
I know the answer. I'd go with John Habian.
That's right.
Yep. Easy one. How about you, Park?
I'm going to go with a random name out of left field just because the last championship St. Anthony's won was 2000. That was John Newman's team, and I was his assistant, and Coach Toop was there as well. And we had a pitcher named Frank Ilya, who pitched 37 innings that season, didn't give up a run.
Wow.
He had 0 ERA, 37 innings.
Unbelievable.
All the way through the playoffs, through the championship, he never gave up a run all year long. So I'd go Frank Ilya. Never gave up a run.
How about you, Casey?
Kyle Hansen. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another
Like,
guy. Yeah, come on.
I remember playing him in championship.
Yeah.
And I mean, you throw the ball
You guys
90.
beat him, though.
Yeah, but
You
still,
killed
the
him when he
next
came
year,
in relief, yeah.
the next year. But I mean, to throw the ball 95 miles an hour and then throw like a wipeout slider, it was just like, come on, man, like that's just
Oh, Kyle's going to kill me that I didn't
not
say his name.
fair. Yes, he is.
Kyle as well. Frank and Kyle.
He was
Yes.
he was really good,
How about
special.
you, Dad?
I'm gonna have to say Alex Robinson.
Yeah.
Again, being able to watch him perform the way that he did for the amount of years that he did in the league, being in a, kind of someone like, a kid like Kyle Chase or someone that's just playing at a level above his age.
Yeah.
And having an impact on whatever field he steps on.
Yeah.
95
in a wood bat league with big grass up there on the field.
And he had a lot of stress.
He
had a
super
lot of pressure
athletic.
on him too. Everybody
Yes.
knew who he was.
Yeah,
Every
he
time
was-
he pitched, it was it was a big
and,
deal.
he was super athletic, and I feel like he just got better every time you went to go see him, or every time he was on the mound. Wipeout slider.
Yep.
His body was moving all over the place. I don't even think he
That
his
leg
body
kick,
was just
yep.
all over, and then
I
the
thought
ball
we
would
were
just
gonna
pop
see-
out, man.
I thought we were going to see him in the major leagues, honestly. And going back to Casey, you were in the Nassau Suffolk All-Star game, right?
Oh,
that
yeah,
year when he was there.
I'll-
There was 1,000 people there. Everyone wanted to watch Stroman pitch, and he wasn't allowed to pitch.
I got a good story about that too, quick. So I happened to start at second base that year. So Steve Matz was at first base, Marcus started at shortstop, and I started at second. So I remember, like, a little kid was in the dugout before the game. I don't remember who the kid was, But he was like, because right before they called all 4 of the kids who got drafted that year to the plate.
It was Keith Osik's son, who's now in the minor leagues.
So, right, comes up, looks at Steve. Can I have your autograph? No problem. Signs it. Looks at me. Walks right past me. Marcus, can I have your autograph? I was like, man. But I mean, listen, yeah, it was pretty funny. So that was like a cool memory that I had too. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember the inner reporter and me in the dugout with Matt. So I was like, "So are you gonna sign or what?" And he was like, "Oh, we'll see what happens." I'm like, "Come on, we're in the same team here." How about you, Pat? Who are you going with?
Well, Dan, I was going to say Robinson too. I had coached at that point. I was with Chris as well, and we always dreaded seeing Robinson, like everybody I'm sure did, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Kappas if that's the case, because I mean, nothing ever rattled him. He had such an arsenal. He threw strikes, and he was just always hitting the corners, and his body language was always so good. He never rattled him. He never showed any poor body language, and he just had such good stuff on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah,
In
he was a great
2017,
two-way
when we
player.
played you guys, we could have pitched Kappas that game, we pitched Diaz that game, and we had Williams in the bullpen. That was the stupidest pitching staff.
That was
Yeah,
on. That was.
either way, it was
Yeah.
a shutout.
And I
That was
coached
unbelievable.
Kevin McCarthy, who was in the
Big leagues, right? Yeah.
That,
That pitching staff is
was
unbelievable.
just
Unbelievable.
And the work ethic they had that year was crazy. It was great.
Yep.
And one kid I didn't get to face was Kevin Courtney.
He's gonna kill me for not saying that. So I knew that was coming. As soon as I said that, I was like, "Oh, I'm getting a phone call from Kevin."
favorites. Yeah, he's
Sorry,
one of my
Kevin.
favorite players.
I'll
of
tell
all
you,
time.
Hansen was tough, man.
He was.
Hansen
He was.
great
He was
soul.
nasty.
He
Yeah.
was so big. Man, his arms like.
Yeah, it was.
Well, you could give Courtney a shout out here. He's probably the one guy you wouldn't want to see in a big spot at the plate, right?
Yes.
And everybody.
I'll sum up the Kyle Hansen. Kyle Hansen, in the first inning of our championship game against St. John's, Courtney hit a 500-foot bomb
my
out of
God,
New York
I
Tech.
remember that.
Hit it
I
onto that
remember-
lacrosse field in right field. Dead pull first inning. Kyle's all jacked up. Kevin's all relaxed. Bang!
That place,
Who
when,
is this?
when
Guy's
he hit that
unbelievable.
ball, that place, it wasn't like a ball
Yep.
where everyone like was
No, it
like,
was-
oh my,
it
no
was-
one said anything at first.
It was unbelievable.
Everyone was just like, did that? I remember like
Nobody
in-
had made that kind of contact off him all year.
Like I
All
remember
year.
being in the dugout, like we looked at each other, we're like, that
Yeah.
ball landed on lacrosse field.
Yep.
Like it was silent. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Wood bat.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was.
it
I,
was bomb.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had some move to first base.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
Great. I mean,
John
listen,
Avian
I
special,
could get
yeah.
on first base. He
Picked
me
off.
He picked me off.
Nah, Kevin was great. I got to experience a little bit of Kevin after high school. Seeing him play, and man,
Yeah,
he was
That team was
freaking
Stony Brook.
special.
That's what a high
kid.
school baseball. That's
Tell you
to
what-
me the
Yeah.
epitome of a
When
high
I-
school baseball
Yep.
player.
When I was at Stony Brook with Kevin and Jack, and there were a mix of other Catholic school guys, man, they were just like different kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming in as freshmen and not being overwhelmed. Like they were
100%.
like, their skill level was there. I mean, most of the guys that are playing collegiate ball at that level, their skill level's there. But really, the difference was just the mental fortitude, the toughness. He was an awesome kid to coach. He was probably one of my favorite kids I got to coach in my experience when I was
Yeah,
at Stony Brook.
just the ultimate winner. I mean,
Yeah.
to go to Stony Brook and get them to the College World Series,
Yep.
he was like a key
Yep.
part of that team as well. So, well, I think that was a good way to end it. Good little fun question to sign us off here. So, guys, thank you very much for your time. Really excited. I mean, we're right at the cusp now of the season. Obviously, if things were normal, we would have been starting this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Already, tryouts. So, but we'll get better weather hopefully. So, guys, thank you once again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the field.
Thanks, Vin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Vinny.